It started like any other episode of Real Time with Bill Maher. A lively panel, sharp questions, and opinions flying fast. But this one took a turn no one expected. Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, known for not backing down, ended up in a heated back and forth with Maher that pushed things past the point of no return. Tensions rose quickly, voices got louder, and before long she was off the show. Whether she walked out or was told to leave depends on who you ask, but the moment left people stunned. So what really happened? Why did a political discussion turn into a full-blown clash on live TV? Was it just a disagreement that got too intense? Or did something deeper explode under the surface? This wasn't just about two strong personalities going at it. It was about race, power, and what happens when someone refuses to play along with the usual TV rules. The fallout didn't stop. When the cameras did, social media lit up with people taking sides, analyzing every second of the exchange. But to understand why this hit a nerve, we have to look at more than just the moment. We have to look at what it says about who gets to speak, who gets interrupted, and who gets shown the door. Jasmine Crockett is a first-term congresswoman from Texas who's quickly built a name for herself in national politics. Before she ran for office, she worked as a civil rights attorney, representing people who couldn't afford big law firms. That background shaped how she speaks and what she fights for. She doesn't sugarcoat things, and she doesn't hold back when she thinks something's unfair or dishonest. Elected in 2022 to represent Texas's 30th congressional district, Crockett stepped into the role with a strong progressive agenda. She's spoken out on issues like police reform, economic justice, voting rights, and protecting marginalized communities. What sets Crockett apart in Congress is her voice, both in what she says and how she says it. She's direct, sharp, and unafraid to push back, even when it means going up against more senior politicians or media figures. She's not there to play nice or keep quiet. She's there to be heard. That approach has earned her a growing base of supporters who admire her for being real in a space where a lot of people play it safe. She's also no stranger to the spotlight. Crockett has made headlines before, like when she clashed with Republican lawmakers in committee hearings or delivered viral soundbites that spread quickly on social media. Her TV appearances show the same energy: quick wit, strong opinions, and zero interest in being talked over. So when she sat across from Bill Maher, it wasn't surprising that things didn't stay calm for long. Bill Maher has been on TV for a long time. His show Real Time with Bill Maher has been running on HBO since 2003. Before that, he hosted Politically Incorrect, which also stirred up plenty of debates. Maher is known for pushing buttons. He says things that make people uncomfortable, sometimes on purpose. His style is a mix of comedy and politics, and he often plays the role of the guy who tells it like it is, even if it rubs people the wrong way. While Maher leans liberal on many issues, especially when it comes to religion, drugs, and social freedoms, he often takes shots at the left too. That's part of what keeps him in the news. He says what he thinks, even if it goes against what most progressives believe. And that's where a lot of the tension comes in. Over the years, he's had some rough moments with guests, especially black women and outspoken progressives. Sometimes he interrupts, sometimes he mocks, and sometimes things go off the rails. People who watch Real Time know what they're getting. It's not a soft, friendly talk show. The crowd tends to laugh at Maher's jabs even when they land hard. The show's set up to feel like a debate stage more than a conversation. That dynamic, one host in control, pushing the edge, with a live audience reacting, is part of what makes these clashes so explosive. Crockett walked into that environment, and it didn't take long for sparks to fly. The episode started like most others on Real Time. The topics were hot, political, and meant to stir up debate. One of the main things on the table was race in politics, how it's talked about, how it's used, and who gets to talk about it. There was also a long segment on DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion programs, and whether they've helped or hurt conversations in America. On top of that, they touched on the 2024 election, including the usual back and forth over Biden's age and Trump's legal problems. It was a heavy mix, and tensions were high from the start. Jasmine Crockett was brought on as one of the panelists, and right away her presence brought a different kind of energy. She wasn't there to play it safe. The other guests included a political commentator known for center-right views and a writer who leaned more toward Maher's usual tone, cynical, somewhat liberal, but skeptical of woke politics. That dynamic made Crockett stand out. She was the only one on the panel truly defending progressive ideals without flinching. As the discussion moved deeper into race and DEI, things started to shift. Maher made a few comments that Crockett clearly disagreed with, especially around how race is used in campaigns and how Democrats talk about identity. She pushed back hard, not in a rude way, just direct and sharp. But Maher didn't like being challenged that way. He started cutting her off more, adding little jokes between her answers and trying to turn the crowd his way. You could feel the mood in the room change. What started as a panel debate slowly turned into a power struggle. And from there, the real clash began to build. The argument didn't explode all at once. It built up little by little, starting with some side comments and quick jabs. When the conversation turned to how the Democratic Party talks about race, Maher made a remark that set the tone. He said, "People are tired of being told they're racist just for existing." It was a typical Maher line, sarcastic, half-joking, but very pointed. Jasmine Crockett leaned forward and calmly replied, "That's not what's happening. People are being asked to recognize how systems work, not just feelings." It was clear she wasn't there to let comments like that slide. Maher pushed back fast. "Come on, Jasmine. We've turned every disagreement into a racism accusation. That's why people are tuning out." He gestured to the audience looking for laughs and got a few, but Crockett didn't smile. She responded, "You're comfortable saying that because you don't live with the consequences." Her voice was firm. That line hit harder than anything so far. From there, it started to turn. Maher began interrupting her mid-sentence. At one point, when she was explaining how certain laws impact Black communities, he cut in with, "Yeah, but we've been hearing this forever. When does it end?" Crockett didn't raise her voice, but the tone shifted. She narrowed her eyes and said, "That's the problem. You think it should have ended because you're tired of it. We're still living it." That moment drew a mix of gasps and applause. Maher visibly tensed. He tried to move the conversation along, saying, "Let's not make this personal." But by then it already was. The air in the room changed. Crockett called out how the show gives space to people who downplay racism, but cuts off those who speak from experience. "You want me here to speak on these things, but you don't actually want to listen," she said. Maher rolled his eyes and said, "Now you're playing the victim." That line, "playing the victim," was the spark. Crockett sat back, looked him in the eye, and said clearly, "If telling the truth makes me a victim in your eyes, then you've already decided what this conversation is worth." Maher, clearly frustrated, signaled to producers off camera. The show went to a sudden break. When it came back, Crockett was no longer on the panel. Maher made a quick joke. "We had some programming changes," and moved on to the next segment. But the moment had already gone viral. People online were sharing the clip, pointing out how the back and forth showed more than just a disagreement. It showed a deeper problem in how these kinds of platforms handle real conversations, especially when power and race are involved. Crockett didn't walk off. She was dismissed. And that's what made it louder than just an argument. It wasn't just a debate gone sideways. It was a decision made in real time about who gets to speak and who gets shut down. Right after the break, the energy on set was completely different. Jasmine Crockett wasn't in her seat anymore, and nobody really said why. Bill Maher came back with a smirk and a line that felt like a dodge. "Well, that was lively," he said, then tried to pivot to another topic, something lighter, but you could feel the shift. The mood was tense. The studio audience gave a few nervous chuckles, but most people stayed quiet. There wasn't applause. There wasn't laughter. Just a strange silence that hung in the air. The other guests looked caught off guard. One leaned back in his chair, arms crossed, eyes a little wide, like he wasn't sure if he should speak or stay quiet. Another glanced toward where Crockett had been sitting, clearly uncomfortable. Nobody really jumped in to say much. No one, openly criticized Maher, but no one came to his defense either. You could tell people were choosing their words carefully. As Maher continued with the show, he didn't fully explain what happened. He made a half joke about strong opinions and passionate guests, but there was no real effort to address the tension or why Crockett was no longer there. He didn't apologize, didn't revisit the subject. It was more like he brushed it aside, hoping to move on quickly. But that didn't work. The way he tried to spin it off only made it feel worse, like the whole thing was just business as usual. Except it clearly wasn't. Everyone watching could feel it. Something bigger had happened, and pretending it didn't only made the silence louder. As soon as the clip of the clash hit Twitter, now called X, it took off fast. Within hours, Jasmine Crockett's name was trending, along with hashtags like Burt Crockett vs. Maher, Real-Time Mess, and Stand with Jasmine. The video of her pushing back on Maher, the moment her mic was cut, and the reaction shot of the other guests, all of it got clipped, shared, and dissected over and over. TikTok creators jumped in too, breaking down the moment frame by frame, while Instagram flooded with reaction reels and quote posts. Supporters of Crockett were quick to speak out. Many said she showed exactly the kind of backbone needed in politics, especially when facing off with someone like Maher, who has a long history of saying things that rub people the wrong way. People praised her for staying calm and standing her ground, especially when the conversation turned dismissive or disrespectful. Some even called her the voice we need, while others pointed out how often Black women get silenced in spaces like these. On the flip side, Maher's fans stood behind him. They argued he was just doing what he always does, pushing buttons, questioning everything even if it's messy. Some said Crockett overreacted. Others blamed cancel culture for making debates impossible. The comments turned into full-blown battles between left-leaning users, centrist defenders of Maher, and conservatives who mostly watched the drama from a distance while tossing in sarcastic jabs. Even public figures chimed in. AOC posted a cryptic tweet about "space is not built for us," which many took as a nod to the incident. Elon Musk liked a post calling the whole thing predictable drama. Comedians, writers, and activists each had a take. The internet wasn't just watching, it was choosing sides. In this part, we explore whether the entire scene was just a setup for ratings. Bill Maher has a history of letting controversial moments happen, sometimes even encouraging chaos to get people talking. This has led to a lot of speculation about whether this particular moment was really spontaneous, or something planned to draw attention and boost ratings. When we look at Maher's past, it's clear that he's not afraid to push boundaries and stir the pot. He often lets the conversation take unexpected turns, allowing tension to build, knowing that it keeps viewers hooked. This has made some people wonder if this meltdown was part of a bigger strategy to keep his audience engaged and spark discussions that would trend. So, should we be surprised by this moment? Or looking at Maher's track record, was it something we should have expected? Maybe the lines between what's real and what's staged are blurrier than we think. This part digs into whether this was just another calculated move for ratings, or if it was truly an honest, unscripted event that took everyone by surprise. Either way, it's a reminder of how entertainment and controversy often go hand in hand. After the incident, did either side try to clear the air with public statements? Let's look at what happened next. Crockett, after the show, might have shared his thoughts or tried to explain himself in some way. Did he address the situation or leave it hanging? On the other hand, Bill Maher is known for being quick with his words, so did he take to social media or his next episode to respond? Maybe he tried to soften the tension or simply stand by what happened. And then there's HBO. As the network behind the show, did they say anything about what went down? Did they support Maher, distance themselves, or stay silent? This section takes a closer look at the aftermath, including how each party handled the situation publicly, and if they tried to control any potential damage to their image. So, what happens next? First, will this whole situation affect Crockett's public image or his political standing? After this, people might start to look at him differently, especially if the tension continues to play out in the media. His future in politics could be influenced by how well he handles the aftermath. and whether he can move past it without losing supporters. As for Maher, will he face any real backlash or actually benefit from all the attention? He's known for pushing boundaries, so some people may criticize him, but others might actually tune in more because of the drama. It's tough to say if it will hurt or help his reputation in the long run, but controversy often gets views, so Maher might end up coming out on top. Finally, what does this mean for future guest appearances? Will other progressives who might not want to deal with that kind of chaos start backing out? Or will this incident just be another bump in the road, with people still eager to get on his show? This part explores the possible impact on Maher's future guests and how this moment could shape the way future appearances are handled. In wrapping up, this clash says a lot about America's media and politics today. It shows how much the lines between entertainment and serious discussion have blurred. The way drama and conflict are used to grab attention is a big part of how media works now. It's not always about the issues anymore. It's about who can stir things up the most. And this moment was a perfect example of that. So who really won here? Is it even about winning? On one hand, Maher got people talking, which is exactly what he wanted. But Crockett also stood his ground, so in a way he didn't lose. It's hard to say who came out on top, but what's clear is that the whole thing gave both sides something to gain. This brings us to the bigger point, the balance between truth and civility, comfort and confrontation. Should we focus more on keeping things respectful, or is it okay to push hard and create uncomfortable moments to get to the truth? This clash shows how America is struggling with that balance and how media plays a huge role in shaping those choices.